Charotar. Charotar is the most fertile land and well-tilled soil in Gujarat. The word comes from Sanskrit and means beautiful, the goodly land. Charotar became later Kheda, known by the British as Kaira. Today, it is the fifth smallest district in the central area of the state of Gujarat.
I need feed it to me now. दे दो, डाल दो. Got it? Should I eat another pound?
Tobacco has always been the most valuable product of the district and the finest tobacco grown in western India. It covers 8% of the total area of Charotar.
Here we are growing BD tobacco and rustica tobacco. BD tobacco, that is Nicotiana tobacco. Rustica tobacco meant for generally chewing.
It is a caste dominant activity.
Tobacco production is a caste-dominant activity, not just in Charotar and not just in Gujarat, but in the entire country. The whole process of tobacco growing and processing included snuff making, chewing tobacco, nicotine-based toothpaste, as well as the production of the local cigarettes called BDs, is controlled and dominated by one community, the Patidar community. Maybe we have to wait.
And it's a community which is very closely held. The Desais, the Amins, the Patels.
Growing, processing, trading, and production of the final products. Each step of the tobacco industry is dominated by the Patidar. Oh my God. It is a community which is strictly hierarchical. The Patidar community is divided among the subgroups of Desais, Amins, and Patels. There are strict rules of intermarriage and interdining between these groups. If the Desai, landowners, and historically the collectors of the revenue consider themselves as the highest in the hierarchy, the Amin are the land administrators and Desai's assistants. Patels, the last subgroups, are the farmers, often headmen of villages and landowners working their own land.
Our family is known as the Bau Sahib Desai's family. There are so many Desais, but particular our family has something different from all Desai. Or Patel. Since 600 years, it's the leading family of whole Patidar community. And Desai is supposed to collect the revenue when Mughals rule over India. Because our family status is so high, so even rich Patels, they are very anxious to give their daughters to our male.
D.L. Patel. D.L. Patel.
Dayabe Lakshmidas Patel.
D.L. Patel.
કોઈ સ્ટ્રોંગ હોય એક સરનેમ વાળા
એ લોકોને બધી જગ્યાઓ એવા જ લોકો એના
ટાઈમ છે મારી કર નહીં ટાઈમ
So whether it is growing, trading, processing, and production of either snuff, this chewing tobacco, or BDs. This tobacco is not necessarily good for smoking in cigarettes.
A peculiar characteristic of Charotar is that the whole rural economy is dominated by the Patidar community. All kind of cooperatives in the state of Gujarat are in the hands of the Patidar. Alongside the agricultural farming, there is the dairy cooperative, again dominated by the Patidars. In fact, parallel to this, there is the inflow of money coming from the migration and diaspora of one big group of the Patidars. This has allowed over the last 100 years to create a very large middle class and upper middle class. The Patidar community has also contributed to the growth and development of the area. It has invested in the construction of public spaces, temples, healthcare, primary education, higher education, and the established universities.
There is the wealth of the migrant.
There is the wealth of the migrant, the inflow of money from migration and diaspora. There is the wealth which is created through agriculture. There is the wealth which is created through dairy. So the rural wealth is largely dominated by the Patidar community.
Which gives rise to a particular kind of politics, which gives rise to a particular kind of industrialization patterns. All of those things happen.
Farmer is always farming. The good life, good future, our family, and progress.
I'm a farmer, I'm a photographer. So this is just the continuation of what comes in the family. Inheritance, it came from dad, and now if I would stop farming, the chain would stop there. And if I would if it's over, then who will farm? Someone has to take it up. I see a good future in farming. There is a good future. It might take next 5 years or something, but after 5 years I see farmers' life going a better way.
Usually the traders are not the growers.
What happens is that the growers get working capital in form of loans from the traders. In fact, the price mechanism is largely fixed by the trader, not by the grower. The price is settled as a convention which illustrates the quality of tobacco depending on the area and the farm in which tobacco is usually grown. This price convention of quality per area hasn't changed since last 200 years. The convention arises because of the dependence of the grower on the trader.
The product comes to my processing unit, and then I pay the grower as and when I like.
Even if tobacco is classified as a cash crop in the agricultural textbooks, the payment is always based on a deferred payment. It is never done through a cash transaction. This means that tobacco production always depends on a cycle of debt.
So the economy is so constituted that it benefits the trader more than either the grower or the laborer.
3 નંબર કે કલકત્તાની વાત કરો છો ને 1 2 3 4 હશે ત્યાં સુધી મળશે પછી નહીં મળે અત્યારે છે મારી બેંક કાલે તમે આવશો તો મળશે હા This is the phone call from the farmer. The seed is available. What is the rate? What time it is available? This particular our station, BD Tobacco Research Station, is developing multiplying seeds for farmers, and from here we are selling to the farmers. Our main objective of this station is how to cut down cost of cultivation and produce good quality crop with minimum expenses, so that we will get maximum profit. Our aim is to produce pure seed, quality seeds. food quality seed number one, then develop new varieties of tobacco, then find out package of practices for tobacco, how to harvest leaf crop. All types of care is taken by the scientist. This is the credit of this station. This government organization. Few farmers, some farmers, they are harvesting their own seeds, but what is their experience? They are telling that the seeds which we are preparing or we are harvesting, that is of poor quality, and your seed, that is of good quality. Kunjrao, Saharsa, Bidwa, everywhere farmers are there. Most of the villages, farmers particularly, they are dependent only on this crop and farming.
With the development of a tobacco research station financed by the government, it is clear that there is a strong contradiction in the dual position taken by the government. At one level, the government supports the growth of tobacco because it brings in rural wealth. Simultaneously, because of internal pressure or international pressure, the government puts heavy taxes on tobacco products in order to decrease and discourage tobacco consumption. So tobacco production feels under constant pressure by one part of the government, while another part of the government realizes that there is money to be made for people in this process.
Any type of tobacco consumption, chewing, smoking, whatever, that is the government main target is to reduce that consumption. Because you see, one thing is there, we are not getting any nutrition from tobacco. What is the necessity? Actually, cultivation of tobacco in Gujarat started before 1937. If there will not be any ban from government side, tobacco crop will be continued. Because it is since long back in India and in Charotar. And human population, they need something in their mouth. And we are not using chewing gum.
What usually happens is that you get only part payments. So the trader pays the growers as they realize their payments downstream. Right? So it's a cycle, but only one part of the cycle is recognized. The other part of the cycle is rarely recognized.
There is a clear hierarchy, both social, economical, and political, which exists but which is actually reinforced by the tobacco processing industry. In each step of tobacco production, there is the labor which is involved. However, the labor does not belong to the Patidar community.
અને રોગ બતાવજો બેઠી ગયેલું હોય તો બતાવજો કે રોગ આવો હોય.
This, don't take this, don't take this. He'll not like it. I know. Just when he's don't take him doing this.
Where would you want to live?
ખેતી કરવા ગયો
બીજે મોખો મળે
Ah, no.
તો મારે બીજો મોખો શું કરવો?
Well, this is weird. I personally find this weird. This might make them feel more insulting or something because you're showing them really things that is beyond their reach. This is city for him. So they don't have dream. I've been working with him since I know him.
Okay.
I know his mentality. He's not even dreaming to be somewhere near me.
Now, what is interesting is that in each of these industries, there is the labor which is involved.
The labor comes from three communities: the tribal labor, the indigenous people, the Dalit community that form the untouchable community, and the lower OBC, the other backward communities. They are all communities which are extremely poor, they are not landed, and from these communities comes a very large number of very poor women. They are also communities in which women go out and work. The presence of women working as labor establishes a clear difference from the Patidar women. The higher they are positioned in the hierarchy, the less they go out of the house to work for livelihood. Even though the agricultural labor in tobacco production is done both by men and women, there are processes which are women-oriented processes. The nursery, the plucking of tobacco, the drying and rolling of tobacco is done by women.
બધું સારું એ અંકલ છે એટલે તમે બોલો છો મને લાગે છે
40 45 કરો 45
45
એવું બધું રોપવાનું હોય નીંદવાનું હોય બધું કામ સારો જ ને એવું બધું હરખું જ કામ થાય એટલે ફરી છોકરા બીજું કામ કરે આપણે કામ કરીએ એવું પણ છોકરા બીજું કામ કરે
ડ્રાઇવિંગ
છે પૂછારી કામ છે એવું બધું છોકરા કરે 8 વાગે જઈએ 8:30 12 વાગે છૂટીએ પછી બંધ આ 2-3 છોકરીઓ કામ ચાલુ હોય એ પરમાણ આલે દેશના તો 100 રૂપિયા.
There is something which is not spoken about. In the tobacco processing industry, there is a lot of sexual exploitation that happens, which is almost an accepted fact and so commonly known that nobody speaks about it. This happens because of the very large number of women, often migrant, which depend and rely upon Patidar men.
For livelihood. Some of them have, worked there for long periods.
Tobacco production is an industry that involves a large number of very poor women. They come from the most disadvantaged communities, not only in the state, but in the country.